welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Today we're in Slidell at Ace Garage Doors, and with us here is Mr. Ethan Mickler.
Mishler.
Mishler.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry about
Good.
that.
It's okay. It's you got the German part.
Okay.
You're good.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about some of the unique things about your business, how you got into it. But first, tell me a little bit about yourself, just you personally.
Yeah. So a little bit about me personally. My dad, he actually adopted me when I was 9. And he came from the garage door industry. But yeah, so he adopted me when I was 9, and it was him and my mom. My mom's my biological mother, and then about 3 years later, they adopted twins.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so our whole family is based around adoption. We were me and my mom originally lived in Kenner. Did all my little sports there and everything for the longest time.
What sports?
Baseball,
okay,
and football, until I realized that I'm a small guy, and that
Yep.
maybe tearing ACLs isn't the best, most efficient things to do with my time.
It's fun, but
it is fun.
You get to a point where you're like, I'm not going to college on a football scholarship.
No, and I was too small. I was, I was 130 pounds soaking wet as a senior in high school. So
Yep.
I didn't gain my weight until college. I needed the freshman.
You haven't gained that much weight, yeah.
I mean, I
feel like you're in good shape.
I'm 170, so I'm in. Don't be fooled though. I'm not in good shape. Absolutely not. I used to run a lot with my uncle, but once you get happier, you're like, man, I don't have time to run.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of business, I mean, it takes a lot of your time, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Definitely takes a lot of time.
Okay, so grew up playing sports?
Grew up playing sports. I was me personally, I went to Holy Cross High School from 6th grade to I graduated. Straight A student there, and then went to college at LSU. I actually majored in pre-med. I had a 4.1.
Wow.
Because I could get a little bit more with the pluses, but I didn't do too hot on the MCAT, so I didn't get in med school that first time I applied, and I really sat back and I was like, do I really want to go $200,000 in debt? Do I really want to do this?
That's an expensive education there.
Very
sure. Yeah.
Very, if I'm not sure. So I got drugged back to the family business side of things, but yeah, I was always really into school, really into learning. Played baseball in high school.
And you're young. I mean, I think you said you graduated in
2017 is when I graduated high school. Graduated college in 21.
Yeah, just a few years ago.
Yep, I'm 25. I got a lot of fight left.
Well, that's good. So we do an intake form that kind of helps me get to know you a little bit before this interview, so we're not just dry talking here. You mentioned, so your grandfather was in the garage door industry.
So my dad's dad, he had his own little garage door company. Never got really big, but in the 60s and 70s and 80s, he was doing it. And, especially back then, he didn't believe in summers for kids. So my dad was out there installing with him.
You got to go to work.
Got to go to work, got to provide. So he was out there installing with them. And, but yeah, so he was Donald Mishler Sr. And then my dad is Donald Mishler Jr. And so yeah, he kind of took off and ran with that. He went to this place, Dial One House of Doors, which is out of business now, in '98, and I was born in '99. So he started coming into my life. Like I said, he adopted me, so he started coming into my life when I was like 4 or 5, and him and my mom both worked full time. And they both worked on Saturdays, so they would have to switch Saturdays to take me. And so I would go with him some Saturdays, go with my mom some Saturdays. She worked in a doctor's office, ironically enough, and he did garage doors. And then yeah, as I grew, he kept the tradition of You know, it was random. Like every once in a while, there'd be a summer day, and he's like,
Come on.
he's not sleeping in today. Like come on, let's
Yeah,
go.
Dad's got a way of doing that.
Yeah,
I remember that growing up
and
as well.
it's really it's something that I didn't appreciate back then, but I can appreciate it now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think something like that instills a sense of purpose in you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, after he was really busy after Katrina, replacing all the doors in New Orleans, and he was doing these boat sheds down in Venice Marina, and it was like 25 commercial doors, and I remember he drugged me out there, and I was 5 at the time, so obviously I'd get bored quick, but
And you weren't providing much help.
no, wasn't providing much help, and I remember just throwing rocks at the alligators and just enjoying myself. So I mean, I got a lot of good memories from it, just figuring out things to do when I was little.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's him and his dad.
Okay.
Both garage door guys.
Yeah, you've been around this all your life?
Yeah, yeah, been in the industry for forever. I mean, he started dragging me on job sites when I was 5, and yeah, and then my summers growing up, he started the business in 2014, and so the summers growing up, I'd work with him,
working through the summer,
working through the summers, and then when I went to college. He went a little softer because he kept saying that I had his retirement hands, his doctor hands, and so right after college, and I made the decision to maybe I shouldn't pursue a route that I'm not going to fully dive into.
Right.
He was like, hey man, why you got all the field stuff I've taught you. Why don't you come to the back end of the office? Why don't I try to learn? Why don't I try to teach you how to run this place?
Yeah, so you started learning, like you said, the back office.
Yep. I would sit in the office with it. I would sit in his office. I didn't get my own office or anything. I would sit in his office with a chair next to him and just intake everything.
Yeah, like a sponge.
Like a sponge. So just and that's still to this day, like every decision I make is based on, okay, how would he make it? And he's not right all the time.
Well, nobody is.
No one is.
Yep.
Right. So you tweak things, but he's doing something right.
Yeah. You guys definitely have a very known brand in this area, and so yeah, you've definitely done well with it. Well, what about now? Personal hobbies, family.
Yeah. So I'm recently married to my wife Cindy. Who's here today.
Okay.
Won't come up on camera, but she's here today.
Well, somebody's got to keep running the show while
yeah, I know. And so we got married October 26th of 24.
All right. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Yep. And we have a son, Glenn.
Okay.
Glenn is from a previous relationship of Cindy's, but it's a lot of a situation like how I was when I was little. It's funny. I actually. The name I have for my dad, I called him Doe, like a female deer.
Okay.
And so where that stems from is when I was 5 years old and he was coming around, starting to date my mom, and I was learning how to read, and she asked me to read his name tag, and it said Donald, and I was trying to sound it out, and I said Doe, and so I still to this day. I'll call him Doe, and like people look at me like I have like 8 heads. But the funny thing is now our son calls me Doe. So and he's become Poe. So it's funny how like a little kind of stupid random word.
Well, it's made its way through the years.
Its way. It turns it into something.
That's sentimental. That's important to have stuff like
absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's me, Cindy, and our son Glenn. In terms of hobbies, any free time I get, I usually try to spend with them. Occasionally I'll escape and go golf.
All right.
Yeah.
What's occasionally? Once every year? Once every 2 months? What?
Probably once a month. Once a month.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. No, it's pretty good. We.
What's your handicap?
I'm right at an 18. So
All right,
I,
not
I
bad.
shoot I shoot around 90 on a good day.
That's pretty good.
I- if I can bogey every hole, I'm good. I'm good. I consider
So,
that a success.
I've been playing golf for probably 20 years, and still to this day, I will buy 24 balls before I go shoot
Yep.
18 holes.
Yep.
And I'm lucky if I have any left.
Well, you got to be better safe than sorry.
Yeah.
You could go through 3, you could go through 23.
That's
It
right.
just
right.
you never know. It's the day.
So where do you play when you do play?
Well, a lot of my parents live in Oak Harbor in Slidell, so I've played Oak Harbor probably the most.
A lot of water, of course. Yeah.
Way too much water. Definitely, I definitely have 2 packs of balls for that one.
Yep.
But I really started getting into golf during the COVID days when I was in college at LSU. So a lot of the courses I've played are in the Baton Rouge area.
Yeah.
And but no, I like playing new courses. So I don't like once I've played a course, I'm like, all right, what's the next one nearest by? You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to break my record on a course.
Gotcha.
It was funny. Our wedding day, we golfed. Me and the bachelor party actually golfed on our wedding day, and because I somehow convinced her to get married on a golf course. So I don't know how I pulled that one off, but it worked out, and I got a free round of golf.
There you go. You can't beat
wasn't free, but I got a free round of golf to me on the wedding day, and I was like, all right, if I shoot above a 94, I'm calling it off. So obviously it's bad omen, not happening. And I shot my personal best. I shot an 88. It was the best I've ever shot. It was a sign. And so yeah, we went through and I got married.
All right. So with that, let's go into the business side.
Yeah.
So I asked you a question, and I don't know if you remember your answer, but I asked you if you could describe your business in one sentence. Do you remember what you wrote?
Well,
oh, you've got to read it.
I've already got it written, but it's along the lines. I don't have to read it. It's along the lines of we provide service above all, great products at a fair price. There's three facets of a business that I've come to learn. You could either have, and a lot of great businessmen say, you can only have 2 out of 3 of these. And you can either provide great service, a great product, or the cheapest price.
Yeah, well said. I've heard that before as well.
Yep, and everyone says you can only have 3. I mean, you can only have 2 out of the 3. So, my goal every day is to get the closest possible. Obviously we're not going to be the cheapest. We have overhead. We are a growing company, but in terms of value, I want to make sure we're hitting all those and you're getting the best value.
Yeah.
So that's what we really strive for.
And 2 words you mentioned in that was service and value.
Yep.
And value is one of those things that it might not be the cheapest, like you said, but value is perceived, right?
Yeah.
Value is what the value of something is what somebody is willing to pay for it.
Right.
Yeah.
And at the same time, both. I had this conversation with Donald last night, actually, my dad, and we were talking about, I had a customer call. Basically we're trying to extend our hours, and I'm trying to see, if keeping the phones on an extra hour is worth it for the company. So, but I'm tanking that, and for most days I'm staying there for that extra hour and taking the calls. And I had this one guy call, and I was kind of trying to help him over the phone, and I was like, well, look, it sounds like this. It could be this. Let's get a service call out there, and then I was sitting there thinking, and I went back to the customer history. My tech a year and a half ago took great pictures, and so he had the motor model number, and so I was thinking it was a circuit board. So it's not a board that we typically stock, but I was digging through everything, and I found one that we had for extra from a job. And I called the guy back. I was like, hey, I have this board. We won't have to charge you the service call. We'll go right to the job. This is how much it'll be. But I was trying to explain that to him is it's that passion. It's that passion to try and try and help people.
Yeah, go the extra step.
Go the extra mile.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times you don't see that, especially with big corporations, just because it's hard to care about something that you're not close with. That's why I like being at work every day. I like talking to the guys. I like, I like being the first one there and opening up the shop and messing with everyone in the mornings, trying to keep the atmosphere up.
The camaraderie of the office.
Yeah, exactly. It's literally, it's a big, it's turned into a big family of about 30. So, and it's growing every day, but that's the main thing I push to people that want to come work for us. I'm like, look, it's a family.
Yeah, and I think that means a lot to
Absolutely.
people that work at a place. Yeah. So another question I asked you is what sets you apart?
Yeah.
From your competitors, which I don't know how many competitors you have in the area.
We actually have quite a few.
Okay.
We have a few corporations. We have a few chucks in a truck, you would call them.
It's kind of one-man show going around.
Especially on the North Shore. On the North Shore, you got about 20 random guys
really?
that are, kind of get described as like chucks on a truck. Don't carry a lot of insurance. They work out of a distribution center, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad, but those are some of our competitors. But we're also, our main competition is the bigger guys, because we've turned into the largest door company in Southeast Louisiana, like running the most trucks, that type of thing. So, number one, what sets us apart is we have the availability. We're big. We have about 15 trucks on the road, probably 6 or 7 commercial, and the rest residential. A lot of hybrid guys that can kind of do both. So just having that availability is huge. We reach a large part of Southeast Louisiana, whole South Shore, whole North Shore, Baton Rouge.
Yeah, y'all are all over the place.
There's a couple times we'll go to Mississippi. If we got a couple installs in there and someone calls for a service call, we're like, yeah, we'll hit you. We'll get you on the way back. So just having that availability, and I feel like that sets us apart. We're unique in that sense, is that we're so spread out and so diverse. And that includes our techs. We have some techs that live in Hammond, some that live in Slidell, some that live in Houma, some that live on the West Bank.
So you can reach.
Right. Okay. So we can, oh, hey, catch us one on your way home. So it's super helpful. But not only the size of us, but what really sets us apart is our integrity. I'm not looking to screw anyone. I'm looking to help people. Obviously, you open a business to make money. That's your ultimate goal, but that doesn't mean you have to screw people or you can't help people.
Yeah, there's definitely an ethical way
to
conduct business.
Way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, that mainly that's me and my dad. I mean, we strive. And there's a lot of times where we eat stuff we probably shouldn't, but
well, you're building relationships, though. When
exactly.
You do that, right?
You're building a relationship, but like not only that, I mean, you're having empathy for people. I understand that does suck that your spring broke and it's 5 o'clock. Let me scrounge around and see what we can do to try and get this done today.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Which you may not get. You're definitely not going to get that from like a big box store.
No.
There's no tech coming over. It's like, man, we close in an hour.
Right. There's no tech coming for that. And vice versa, some of the smaller guys, are just in it for the money. So like they're not going to care as much.
Yeah.
So that's our thing, is we're trying to create a brand, integrity, size, and our capabilities. And then the other thing is, of course, we have more experience than anyone by a lot. Just on our management team alone, which consists of me, my dad, our sales manager, Clint, who's been in the business for 25 years.
Wow.
Our commercial project manager, Danny, who's been in the business for 30 years. And our residential project manager, Roger, who's been in the business for 20 years. And then we've also recruited some other facets to our management team. We have Alexis running the Slidell location, and she's all about doors. It's really fun to see someone that enthusiastic about doors like I am. And she's been doing it for about 5 years. and then we've opened up a hollow metal division with someone who's got 10 years experience with that. And then all of our techs, a lot of them have been doing this for over 15 years. Not all.
That's a
of
lot
them.
of experience.
Yeah, not all of them, but the guys that have only been doing it for 3 years, if they have an issue, they call one of the guys, and they call our residential supervisor who's been doing it for 22 years, and he's like, hey, this is the first time I'm seeing this. What's up with this? What do you think? And it's just that camaraderie that the combined experience is I don't think it's matched by anyone in my personal opinion.
And that's true. Having, you hire a new employee, and not everybody has 20 years of experience, right?
No.
You gotta train people, and being able to have.
And that's another fun thing. A lot of, especially these bigger companies, the training programs, right? Like they'll take a guy, they'll send him away for 2 months, and then come back and be like, all right, you're ready to go.
Throw him to the wolves.
Throw him to the wolves. Yeah. And our method behind that is, for a lot of times, people refer to a second guy on a truck as a helper. So we've rebranded that word. They're not a helper. They're not there to just help you. They're an apprentice. They're there. They're there to learn. They're there to actually get the field experience. So, a lot of times guys will spend 6 months to 3 years as an apprentice, working on a truck, but not being the lead guy, before they're ever even given the opportunity to go solo. I don't like to throw them to the wolves. I like to make sure they're prepared for everything.
Because it does take quite a bit of just personally, when I think of, a garage door, you don't immediately think that it's all that complicated.
Right.
You push, as the homeowner, right? You push the button, the door goes down. Push the button, the door goes up.
There's a lot of moving parts.
But there is, yeah. And a lot of safety considerations
Absolutely.
when you're dealing with it.
So the garage door is actually the largest moving object on your home.
Yeah.
In 95% of cases. And they'll show you, like, everywhere you shouldn't touch, there's bright red screws in the doors. And I'm like, I wouldn't touch this. There's tension on that spring. Don't touch that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you'd be surprised, because you're right. I mean, at first it may seem simple, and you're like, click door, it goes up.
Yeah.
Click
if
button,
everything is working like it's supposed to.
Exactly.
It's
but
simple,
there's a lot of moving parts. And so just having the experience and the knowledge available is huge. There's times where, I'm on the phone talking with someone, and I'll call one of the guys in the field that has more experience than me, and I'm like, what do you think about this? And that's another thing. We'll bounce stuff off each other. Even if we have a good idea, we'll bounce it off the next guy and be like, hey, well, what do you think? This is what it's doing. What do you think this could be before I just start changing parts all willy-nilly and charging a customer for parts they don't need. Yeah. So that's I think that's huge.
Kind of a team approach.
Yeah. It's definitely a team approach, and that's one of the things I'm pushing as a goal this year, is to make sure we're completely unified as a team. So, not saying we aren't, but you can always be better.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Well, and if you don't apply and try and get better, well, then you get stagnant. Yeah, and you end up just being, you can't improve, you can't learn new methods, new products, new.
If you're not learning, you're not improving.
Yeah.
So the goal
well put. Yeah.
The goal is to be 1% better every day.
Yeah. We used to have a saying, if you're not moving forward, then you're moving backward. You're never standing still.
No.
Because the world's moving on without you.
Yep.
New products, new ways of doing things, new people. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Here's one for you. Mm-hmm. What has been, and obviously you didn't start this business, and either from your experience coming in, or from what you know of the history of the business, what do you think was the biggest challenge to the business, either when it started or maybe when you came on board?
Yeah, no. So the biggest, I could give you two examples. One of when it started that I noticed as a child, because, when my dad did open the doors in 2014, I was about 15 years old. So I had to watch the initial 3 or 4 years of what it actually takes to start and own a successful business. a lot of people they'll see my dad, taking a week off and going to Iceland and having a good week, and they'll be like, oh, it must be nice, and I'm sitting there like, man, you have no idea what that dude's been through. Like, I remember, so he actually never even graduated high school, and he's so familiar with garage doors, and I'd watch him. He would come home and go do his computer work, and it would be like tick, 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 tick.
Learning how to do it.
He had to teach himself everything on the computer. He would basically, his schedule when he first started was he would wake up at 6 a.m. He'd go do his field work. He'd get home at about 6 p.m. and then he'd do computer work till about midnight or 1 a.m. Go to sleep and do it all over again Monday through Saturday.
Putting in the work.
Putting in the work for 3 years straight. And while doing that, he would take the time to make sure, he makes it to my school events, to my baseball games, stuff like that. But seeing that sacrifice he had to make, the way he always put it is, failing isn't an option. And that's kind of what I've always run with from him, is that failing isn't an option. We're going to figure it out. One way or another, it may not be perfect. We might make mistakes, but we're going to get it figured out. And we're going to do it better next time.
That goes into like work ethic, right?
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, his work ethic is incredible. I dedicate my work ethic to both him and my mom, because they both, my mom was still working a full-time job and raising 2 kids while he was starting a business. Three kids. I was a kid. Yeah, that's right.
That's hard. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was really a team effort, but in that start, just figuring things out, what's the business technical way to go about this, and a lot of times he didn't make the right choice at first, and he'd figure it out, and then he would, but it was a lot of growing pains, and he'd figure it out,
And nowadays you could probably YouTube just about how to do everything.
Yeah.
Or you can find a mentor or a coach, or
right.
Well, back then you're not Googling anything. You're not.
No, I mean, you can try.
You're networking with people as much as you can.
Oh yeah.
But...
So he was talking to everyone he could. And his primary goal was to just provide the best service absolutely possible, and be fair to people. And that's what I grew up seeing. Yeah. My biggest hurdle in the business was right when I came in, right after college, and he started taking me into the back end. I had about 2 months to really learn everything or pick up what I was going to pick up, because it was COVID, but also that's when Hurricane Ida decided to ravage the area, and knock out about 50% of everyone's garage doors. So, we had an 8-week lead time. There's nothing like telling a person, wow, I can't help you for 8 weeks. And and you're like, you could try anywhere else,
but the products are all coming.
It's all coming. And it's like, I can't, like, we physically couldn't do anymore. But we had a workaround. We figured it out. Our manufacturer, who we use, CHI, out of Illinois, and they're very family-oriented, very, very much so like us. And, they found a way to get us 3 full truckloads of doors in 2 weeks. So we were out there just going right after that.
Wow, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we were both, and at this point, my dad was exhausted, just from everything from the past 7 or 8 years. I mean, he was tired. And so, I really picked up where he was leaving off, and helping him to the point to where he's like, okay, yeah, I can hang around. I don't have to give everything, but I can.
Yeah,
I can
it's
still
not
give.
all me.
It's not all me. I have some help.
So that probably came in at
the perfect time.
Yeah,
the perfect time, right when Ida hit. But no, even so, the first 2 months after Ida, I remember it was each one of our salesmen at the time, including us, would run about 15 estimates a day, and like all the field guys were working until about 7, 8 o'clock. So they were getting overtime every week. I mean, there were some times where the overtime checks were bigger than the normal checks.
Wow. Yeah.
But we would go out. We didn't have any service because power was out at our shop. So I transferred the phone to my dad's cell phone, and so I would pick it up, talk to a customer for like 30 seconds to get them set up, get off the phone, and I'd have 5 missed calls.
Wow.
And so I would just write them down and just go through the list. But you know, me and my dad, that was another point in time for like 2 months where both he and I, we were set up. My uncle, who also works with us, he's our commercial project manager now, but he lived in Slidell, and luckily he was on the hospital grid, and so he got power back immediately.
Yeah.
So we set up at his house, and
relocate the operation.
Relocated the operations, and basically we'd leave at 6 a.m. We'd go run estimates, answer calls, set kind of distribute our guys, our techs, all that fun stuff. And then at about 5-ish to 7-ish, we'd get back, and it would just be constant ordering, catching up on calls, and we'd get to bed about 2 a.m., do it again.
Wow.
For about 2 months. It was Monday through Saturday.
That wears on you.
Yeah, no, it definitely does, but it was, I mean, we reveled in it a little bit. We had fun.
Yeah.
You know, because it's also bonding time for us. You know, I don't think when I was younger he expected anything like this to happen. You know, and I think both him and my mom, you know, were kind of expecting me to go a route somewhere directed with a lot of school, just because I like school so much. And so having me going like this route, I feel like that's, especially for my dad, that was a pleasant surprise for him.
Yeah, probably a lot of pride in there.
Oh yeah, I think so. But the pride goes 2 ways.
Yeah.
I got a lot of pride in them.
Yeah. Well, that's good stuff, man. Yeah. Well, so we talked about, and I asked you a question, what is your secret to success? I think you've already answered that. I mean, you talked about integrity, which I think in the business world goes, I mean, you can't question someone's integrity and have a successful business. You got to trust the person you're in business with.
It's rare to see now. So like you've just started doing home inspections, and one of the things I see the most is, especially on the North Shore, and that's why St. Tammany's cracked down so hard on it, is all the garage door companies, whenever they're bidding jobs, they're like, oh yeah, it's wind loaded. The doors aren't wind loaded. And you know, it's a very subtle difference sometimes. And so just stuff like that, like, why are you gonna do that? Like, yeah, you got the job, congratulations. You made more money, congratulations. But like,
but you've lost your integrity.
You've lost your integrity, and you've messed over this customer. You know, now I remember there was this customer in Money Hill who had his house built for about 3 years, and Ida came and the door was rattling really bad, so he called us out to check it out, and we looked at it and we're like, yeah, no, these aren't wind rated. You know, we can wind rate them for you. This is where you'd be looking at, so on and so forth. And then he called his contractor, and the contractor was like, oh, well, here's the guy I use, blah blah blah. And guy's still in business, but just wouldn't answer the phone for him. He would see the number and block it.
And he had claimed that they were wind rated.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So just stuff like that.
Well, people that do stuff like that, word gets out. Word gets out.
Word gets out for sure. But it's just that's the main reason I'm so keen on growth, is just because I know we'll do it the right way.
Yeah.
And we'll do it as fair as possible. And so my biggest thing with the secret to success is just treat people how you'd like to be treated.
Yeah, seems simple.
Seems simple, right? Always look at it as if you're in the customer's shoes, but never discount yourself either. So that's something me and my dad we're still learning, is, sometimes we'll put ourselves in a hole that, isn't fair to us.
Trying to help.
Yeah. And, we're learning that, okay, you really can't do that. As we've grown, you're like, okay, you can't do that all the time. You can only help people as much as you possibly can. You can't, there's a line you can't cross.
Yeah, there comes a point where if you start degrading your ability to conduct business, then
Correct.
you're not doing anybody any favors. You may help out a few people in the short term, but then you're not here 2 years from now to, yeah.
Exactly. So those are, that's our main things that we've been learning over the past 2 years, ever since we've kind of come down from Ida and kind of gotten back to a normal pace and a normal pace of growth. But yeah, the biggest secret to any type of success, I feel like with anything, is just treat people right. Treat people how you want to be treated. You treat someone else with respect, you'll get respect in return.
Yeah, and again, when we talked about advertising, word of mouth, I mean, that's where you get that from, right? Yeah.
Yes.
People respect you, they trust you, they would refer you.
Well, yeah, and especially Southeast Louisiana, we're all everything in Southeast Louisiana is very family related. Mm-hmm. A lot of it's word of mouth. You go and you look up these statistics of outward moving, like people that leave their state. And all the time you see people, from everywhere going like, oh, I'm moving out of my state to do this, out of my state to do this. Louisiana has one of the highest retention rates. Yep. Because we're so family oriented. We get these big families, and word of mouth is important anywhere, but very, very important here.
Well said. Let's get into like the operations. Mm-hmm. So what is your typical customer? Is it somebody that's looking for new construction, that's looking at, different options, or is it a repair, remodel?
I'll be honest with you, it's a little bit of everything.
A little mix, huh?
A little mix of everything, both residentially and commercially. We do residential repairs, residential new construction, residential remove and hauls. And the same thing on the commercial side.
Yeah. Commercial
repairs, commercial new construction, commercial remove and haul. But like you really think about it, especially like in the garage door industry, part of it is if we're doing a new construction job, right? Standard springs on a garage door. May not know this, but I did the math because they run in cycles. But if you open and close your door 10 times a day, the average spring is going to break in about 2.75 years.
Okay.
Doesn't seem like that much, right? But that's interesting.
Well, 10 times a day, that's quite a bit.
Right, quite a bit.
Yeah.
Basically, you got 10,000 cycles in your standard set of springs.
Okay.
But like, whether it be 3 years or whether you hardly use it and it's 9 years, those springs are going to need to be changed eventually, and then, 20 years down the road, or if, God forbid, a hurricane comes, because we love getting those here, and the door needs to be replaced. It's not just the industry. There's a lot of fruits in the industry. You can't, some people just want to grab the apple and not eat any of the oranges or the grapes. And you can't run off of integrity when you do that.
Cherry picking your jobs is what you're talking about.
Yes, you can't cherry pick. If you want to just do new construction, you're going to get a bad taste. Because what if someone calls you a year and a half later? Yeah, technically it's not under warranty, but they're looking for help. And what if it's something that, you could have prevented by doing something? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, we do a little bit of everything. We're probably about 55% residential, 45% commercial, pretty neck and neck, maybe a little bit more residential. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, every day we have techs doing different things, whether it's new construction, remove and hauls, or repairs. A lot of our repair work's done by some of our senior guys, just because they know so much that they're able to identify issues and foresee them happening to be able to address it while they're there. Yeah. So if like they see a broken spring, but they also get there and they see, the back hangs are all out of level, they're going to notice that immediately and be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to change the spring, but I'm also going to fix this back hang so you don't have a roller come out in 91 days after your repair warranty's up. You know what I mean? Yep.
And how long, so say it's a repair. Mm-hmm. I mean, you guys, and we're at your Slidell location, but you have another location.
Yeah, so our primary warehouse is actually in Elmwood.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because it's very centralized. Because like I said, we do South Shore, North Shore,
Yeah, you
a
can
little
go
bit
to
of
West Bank, you
Mississippi,
can go East
West
Bank.
Bank.
Yeah.
Yeah. We wanted to open up our Slidell location just to give people in the North Shore, whenever they want to come look at stuff. No one wants to drive that causeway or the Twin Span or 55, especially like in the mornings when it's foggy. We've seen that recently on 55 and Causeway. So just having another location on the North Shore to help, people that want to come see but don't want to do that drive.
Yeah, that's a huge benefit to be able to come in and, if you're replacing parts, that's one thing. And I mean, I'm sure you have plenty of stuff in stock. So it's not like a text coming out and saying, well, I'm going to put this on order and we'll get back with you in 3 weeks, right?
Our warehouse in Elmwood is 22,000 square foot.
Wow, yeah.
And it's just full of parts. Each truck is stocked with parts. A lot of times whenever we're explaining to customers, yes, we're coming out for a service call, but we're coming to fix the issue. We're not a diagnostics company, we're a service company. We're coming to fix your problem. Some customers have, are different than others, and some are like, hey, I just want a price. And it's like, well, look, explain your problem to me, and I'll tell you what's wrong right now. We have enough experience to do that. But if you call us out there, we want to come fix the problem. We don't want to come out there and say, okay, this is what's wrong. $90 please. Like, that's not what we want to do. We want to go and give you the best value and fix your issue right then and there. Most of the time with repairs, it's same day, next day service, or whenever it's convenient for the customer, because not everything's an emergency. And a lot of times when we're busy or we have a busy day and we'll have to push something off to the next day, we'll ask the customer. We'll be like, look, is your car out of the garage? Can you get to work? Stuff like that. And if they're like, no, can't get to work, it's stuck in the garage, I need to get to work, blah, 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 stuff like that, we're like, okay, let's sit down and find a way.
You can prioritize them a little bit.
Find a way to get that done. Maybe we call that new construction contract and be like, hey, we're going to be a little late. We got to catch the spring change first, and then do it like that. But it's all about communicating with repairs, communicating with the customer, because most of the time when you're like, look, we're really booked right now, I can't get out to you till tomorrow. Most of the time they're pretty understanding, especially because in our industry we see a lot of companies that push things off 3 or 4 days, and it's not as helpful. So anytime we get a call where our goal is same day, if we have to do next day, it's next day, and then or if nothing. Some people are like, not really an emergency. I'm off next Monday. Can you come then? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, y'all have that flexibility.
Right. But that's the main thing with repairs is just making sure to try and push those out. Get the emergent ones like door off track, springs are broken, can't open the door. But like when we get a call like, oh, my door only closes when I hold the button, usually signifies a photo eye issue or something simple like that. We'll be like, all right, yeah, would you mind if we got you, tomorrow or even possibly the next day? Would you mind that? And a lot of times they're really cool about it. So,
yeah, people are definitely flexible if they know that, hey, you're
right.
going to come take care of me.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like a lot of people, so if I tell you about a business like, let's just make something up, right? Paul's Fencing. Right, I tell you, I'm like, yeah, man, I use this guy, Paul's Fencing. He's pretty good. I think you should use him. What's the first thing you're gonna do?
Yep, check them out. I'm gonna ask around. Right?
You're gonna check them out. You're gonna ask around. You're gonna look up on Google.
Yep.
And that's one of the things we pride ourselves on is our Google reviews are.
Yeah, you guys are top notch on Google review. I looked at it.
We got 1,050, and 99% of them are 5 stars.
Yeah.
A couple 4 stars, and then there's like 6 1-stars on there where like, anytime a 1-star comes through, you guarantee either me or my dad, we're calling that customer and being like, okay, what happened? Like what happened?
Yeah, that's an
Let's hit the
anomaly.
story.
Yeah.
Yep. What happened here? Let's make sure this doesn't happen again. And probably 4 out of 5 times we fix it with the customer. Where we're like, okay, well, look, what about this? And we kind of meet in the middle on something. But yeah, there's just you can't make everyone happy. So
True.
we got about 6 or so that me and my dad we couldn't.
Well, that comes with the territory. Yeah, people are people sometimes.
Comes with the territory, but yeah, like we lose sleep over those 6, and we're like, what could have we done?
Well, that's good. I mean, that's a good attitude to have. You guys are striving for perfection.
Absolutely, and 1% better every day.
Yep. Okay, what's next here? Oh, you talked about your products.
Yes.
A little bit. So you mentioned CHI.
Yep.
So tell me about the products. Why them, and what makes them the best, and why do you guys use them?
Yeah. So CHI is a garage door manufacturer / dealer out of Arthur, Illinois. They only sell to professional companies, and they're very selective on who they allow to install their product. So CHI was initially, whenever they started, a lot of it was based off the Amish. And the Amish are very family-oriented, very hardworking group of people. And so they've kept that identity as they've grown into a much bigger distribution.
Also known for their quality. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. They're also known for their quality. But that goes back to, they care. They genuinely care. Our biggest thing with getting in with CHI was we don't want to install a door that you could just go get at Home Depot. If you can do that, I'll tell you right now, your best bet's just to go get it from Home Depot. And if you want us to install it, we'll install it, but we'll be back in 5 to 8 years. With CHI, the quality on even a standard door, you can expect like 15 years out of it. So, and then the better doors, like the steel back insulated doors, I mean, you could expect 25 to 30 years out of it.
That's quite
So it's quite a difference. Luckily since my dad and I, especially my dad, he was installing since 98 to 2016, he was personally installing. So he's put his hands on every single product. And, a lot of the bigger known door manufacturers, they have them at Home Depot. They cut corners. They do what they need to do to make sure that they get their profit margin. Where CHI won't do that. CHI, they'll make sure it's right, and if it's wrong, they'll fix it. Basically, if there's a dented panel, I take a picture of it and I send it to CHI, and I'm like, hey, we got a dented panel. No problem. They just put one on another truck and send it to me, and we'll go switch it out for free for that customer. But it's not a fight. It's never a fight. Their service tops everything, and in general, CHI they're a little bit more expensive than the common people, but you get so much more door.
Yeah.
You get heavier duty hinges, you get heavier duty tracks. It's more reliable. You won't have to worry about it like you do another door.
Well, there's a few different industries that have the same, like windows you talk about. There's a couple companies that you can hire, and it'll probably be the cheapest window. But again, the quality of the slides, the mechanism, the locks, they fail quicker.
I got a little example here. So this is from one of the mainstream manufacturers. It's a little skinny 18 gauge hinge that they use on the door. And then you compare it with something that you put on our CHI door. It's a 14 gauge hinge. And it's so much thicker. If you break this, it's probably time to change out that door. It's been a few years,
But you're doing something.
Or you're doing something, But like this, it's flimsy, And then you go to a company that might charge you a $300 upgrade to get that type of hinge. Whereas CHI is just like, no, we're not even going to mess with that. Look, this is our standard stuff, quality, and we're going to sell it to you for this. And that's what I love about them. They're upfront. They're personable. They're great on a relationship, on a partnership level. As long as you are fair to them, they try to be fair for you. If my guy damages the panel and I know he damaged the panel, I'm not going to try and give them the warranty.
Right.
I'm going to eat it just because I know they take care of me. You know, so that it's just having that type of relationship with a manufacturer. So,
That's good.
but yeah, in terms of quality, you know, I feel like they are just top notch. You know, and not saying that there aren't other good ones, because there are definitely some other good ones. You know, but it's just when you put it all together.
And CHI is the company that you use for your doors. Okay.
Yes.
Everything. That you
Yeah,
have.
residential and commercial sectionals. You know, and even some of the larger industrial stuff like rolling steels. Some other manufacturers we use for rolling steels and sheet doors on the commercial side are like Asta, Cooks and Cornell, which are all, like I said, they're all great products. You know, there's nothing on the commercial side that's really flimsy just because it can't be. But, you know, especially residentially,
Yeah.
having that, you know, security blanket of our standard is above the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not going to get builder grade. I mean, it's
Right.
Let you get from Home Depot and the standard. Yeah.
Like I said, there's three facets to a business. You got to pick 2 out of 3: best service, best product, best price,
Cheapest price, right?
cheapest price.
Yep.
That's,
And there's a time and a place for just buying cheap stuff.
absolutely,
But-
yeah.
but
There's nothing
yeah.
wrong with that. But you know, so for example, if you plan on moving out of your house and you got to replace that door and you don't care about it and you just want to throw something up there, yeah, go to Home Depot. You know, you're not hurting my feelings. I get it.
Well, but there is. So you talked about family here in Southeast Louisiana, and one of the first things people want to do when they either remodel or buy a new home is show it off, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, come see my house. And I mean, garage doors, the garage door takes up probably a quarter of the front of your house, maybe a half.
Fun fact: changing your garage door can up the value of your house up to 4%.
Wow. Yeah. Well, and it just looks better.
Yeah.
I mean,
like you look at one of these back here. I mean, there's obviously styles that are better than the rest. You know, that are just out of this world. But there's also styles that are like good quality and like they look good. You know, so it can increase the value of your house by 4%.
And make you proud to show it off, too.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
What about the rest of what you guys do? You mentioned to me you do a few things that maybe you're not making any money off of, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, which is a very respectable thing to do in any industry. Tell me a little bit about community involvement.
Yeah, so one of the best things we do, and we do it often, is anytime a St. Jude Dream Home goes up, you know, if one of our contractors are doing that, we're donating that door immediately. We're big fans of St. Jude and what they do and what they provide for people.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times, like, you know, if these families with, you know, their kids that are sick, you know, St. Jude will cover every cost to that. Like, that's huge. So like whenever they're raffling these houses, that's all that money going to that. So like we donate that right off the bat. And then in terms of just being in the community, we like being in all the HOA meetings, stuff like that. B&I groups, we're very familiar with those. And then, you know, especially like schools we're donating a lot, just to, you know, not only schools that I went to, or, you know, my brothers go to, but also schools that our employees' kids go to, because like they're part of our family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we want to donate, make their schools better. So, you know, there's plenty of opportunity. You know, could we do more? We can always do more. You know, we can try and do more.
Well, that's a lot. I mean, and just personally, and I think everybody feels the same way. If you have the ability to do something like that and donate, I mean, that garners a lot of respect just for the people behind this business.
Yeah.
Yourself.
There's more, a lot more to business than just making money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I want to grow so much. It's just because I feel like 98% of businesses don't feel that way, and I want to prove them wrong.
There you go. So. Good stuff, man. mentors.
Yeah.
Have you had any mentors or anybody in particular? And it could be a few, could be just one that you want to mention that has kind of made a difference in your success here.
Yeah. So obviously, the big one, the big elephant in the room is, of course, my dad.
Which you've mentioned plenty of times.
Plenty of times.
Sounds like a great guy.
Yeah, he's good most of the time. Sometimes it's funny. Well, a lot of times, I think he likes having me around because I'm the only one that'll challenge any of his ideas. I'm like, well, no, I think we should do this. No one else is going to do that. So like me and him will go back and forth with each other, and it just adds to our dynamic.
Yeah.
But no, and overall, I mean, we have a great relationship, and the way I try to run things is the exact way that I think he wants it done. I try to respect that. Try to respect what he built. But aside from that, a great mentor to me personally was a guy by the name of William or Bill Judy, who works for IDS, which is a strategic company growth company.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So basically they go and they help companies that are in a certain phase of growth that need to figure something out, right? So there's no secret that there's a major difference in running a $500,000 company and running a $10 million company. There's a big difference in running a $10 million company to a $100 million company. There are certain levels and challenges you face with each. Part of our biggest issue, this was kind of recent. This was 6 months ago. We're talking where we had Bill come in from IDS and kind of teach us more on the accounting side of everything, how to keep everything straight, models and how things need to be done on a certain degree.
The business side of it.
The business side of it. And man, he was awesome.
Yeah.
In every way, man. I mean, he was just
he must have done something. You
calm,
recognize him as a
calm, collected, but man, when he walked in a room, he demanded respect. He wouldn't say anything. Just walk in that room, and you're like, I'm gonna respect that guy. It's funny. He comes in at first in a full business suit. We're garage door guys. Like this is my normal stuff. Like I'm jeans, kind of relaxed. A lot of times we're out in the field, like just helping techs and doing stuff like that. So this guy comes in a suit, and we're just kind of thinking, we're like, when is he gonna get rid of that suit? Because it was a 3-month project for him.
Wow.
Where he had a list of things that he wanted to touch on. Companies can be separated into a sales, an operations, and a financial type of tree. Our sales group was probably our strongest. Our operations were our next strongest, and our finances were kind of our weakest. And so he came in with a plan to get all those on the same page. And he did, absolutely. It was definitely an expensive adventure, but it was one that needed to happen. But yeah, even the relationship I had with Bill really, and everything he was able to teach me. I struggle a lot, especially growing up with anxiety. It's just something I've always had, something I've never been able to manage. And Bill actually came from a very similar place, and he had it under control. And I think he was just very, very personable with me.
Made a connection with you.
Made a connection with me, and really gave me a lot of great advice. Stuff that my dad could never know. And it's not a knock on anyone, absolutely not. But it was an extra oomph that I any success in the future, he's definitely going to be a reason for that.
Wow. Well, that's good. Yeah, and I mean there are certain people out there that just kind of have a knack of reaching people, making connections.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He previously to working at this development company, he owned and sold like 2 or 3 other businesses. But like one of the businesses, he got up to like 55 employees and like $25 million a year. Like he was running like corporations. So just having that experience here for a little while. You know, kind of telling us, you know, every company operates a little differently. Everyone has their quirks, but there are certain absolutes that if you're this size, you need to run this way. You know, because before him, a lot of times it was me and my dad. We're the only decision makers. We would do everything if it didn't get done. We would make sure it got done, and we would make sure we do it right. And you know, there was a lot of times where we weren't letting our guys work. We were taking it from them, or we were down to micromanagement.
The ability to delegate and trust and empower,
and just doing that organizational chart, and you know, setting your 3 leaders of those branches, and then trickling everything down. You know, me and him both went from working 60 to 80 hour weeks to, you know, normal 40 to 50.
Just because you structured.
Just because we structured, and we're, you know, we're running a lot more on numbers and less on temperament. And so that was a huge help in everything, especially for our mental well-being. You know, there's times me and my wife and my kid, we go on Sunday to my parents for dinner. And since Bill, you know, came and taught us everything, we rarely talk about work anymore outside of it. And that's how it should be.
Yep.
You know, whereas before we were like getting into arguments over dinner and like, you know, just trying to like figure things out. And, you know, I think my parents can say it too, you know, we're forever grateful for that.
Well, that's interesting that, you know, even with growth, you still have challenges, and some unique challenges. The bigger you get, right? Yeah. Different challenges.
You'll always have challenges.
Yeah.
And you got to figure them out.
That's the critical part. And get after it.
My dad's motto, that failing's not an option.
Yeah.
Failing's not an option. Because whenever he opened the business in 2014, you know, we weren't well off financially at all. We were lower middle class, you know, just trying to make it. And when he set out and said he was going to do it, that's how he went. Failing isn't an option. It's just not on the table. Like, it can't happen.
That's a good attitude to have. Yeah. Well, Ethan, I appreciate your time, man. This has been a good conversation. Learned a lot about you. Learned a lot about Ace.
Yeah.
Garage Doors.
I appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, no problem. Really cool. I hope the audience, you know, uses you for their future needs.
Yeah, absolutely. We, you know, anytime you need anything garage doors, commercial, residential, you know, we're your guys.
And you can reach out and ask questions.
Yeah. Even if you just want to ask a question and call us at the office, you know, we'll answer the phone and try and talk you through it.
Deal. Well, is there anything else, give you the opportunity, anything else that you kind of wanted to cover that I failed to bring up, or?
No. I mean, we pretty much nailed it all. I mean, we've hit all the major points of who we are, what we're about. You know, if anyone, you know, like I said, our service area is pretty much all Southeast Louisiana. We South Shore, North Shore, West Bank, Baton Rouge. You know, we go into parts of Mississippi. So, you know, we're all over the place. Yeah. You know, we got a couple phone numbers. We offer emergency service, so we're available 24/7. You know, if you call our office after hours, it'll come up with a different phone number to call the emergency line. So we got an emergency line going. We got 24/7 available. We're on Facebook, Instagram. We've just added to TikTok, although that might get banned.
Yeah, we'll see over the next couple of days, maybe.
A couple of days. But we're on Facebook, Instagram. We're doing a couple shows. We're doing the Home and Garden Show in New Orleans in March of 2025.
Okay, yeah.
We're also incorporating an LSU tailgate, where for one of the games we're gonna have a tailgate and just cook a bunch of.
Do you know where?
No,
not yet.
Not yet. It's probably going to be across from Walk-Ons though.
Okay.
That's where that's where I'm most comfortable tailgating.
Yeah, that's a good spot to be.
So absolutely, it's out of the way from everything, but it's a short walk to get into everything.
Well, good deal. Well, we will add links to your social media pages, your website, down at the bottom, and again, nice talking with you. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, man.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Cool.